could say he's a regular on the show now at this point. He's been on about 5-6 times on the show,
Awesome.
I think. And then so he's like a spokesperson for Doris's Italian
Really?
market. Yeah, so he came on. We did this episode, Who's More Italian episode, right? We called it Paisans. I called it.
Right.
We titled it Paisans, but the whole thing was like it really was like, oh yes, oh thank you. All right, so what we got from Doris's? We got little calzones. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, a little cannoli, tiramisu, some baklavas, just for the Greek fans,
Yeah, all
and
right.
some nice fruit pies.
Cool. I'm gonna have a cannoli. It's probably not the best thing to eat when you're trying to talk, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
I was wondering
Holy
how that
cannoli.
was work.
We're gonna talk about the fairy godmother Carlene in a second, but anyway, we did this episode Paisans, and it was born from this whole thing where George Pavaromo is also a regular on the show and a very good friend, and has an Italian last name, and that's pretty much the end of it.
That's it.
Right? Because he's like, yeah.
Oh, really?
He jokes about himself. He's like,
Right.
I'm from Miami. I'm a Floridian. I'm not like an Italian at all.
That's a great Italian last name.
Yeah, it's like for
Right.
Pavaromo. It's
Yeah.
a great Italian last name. So we had this. George and I were talking on the side, like we should do this episode because Paul is all I'm Italian, right? Big time.
Right.
He's like very proud of it.
Right.
And bring the mic a little closer. So he's all Italian out, and George is like, we got to get him. We came up with this idea to do this Who's More Italian episode because Bouncer Smith had the inside track that he did a Ancestry.com test once, and it turns out he's Greek.
Who?
Paul.
Oh.
Right. But anyway, we had him on the show, and he disputed it. Whatever. So anyway,
that's hilarious.
so then Paul goes. So we did the episode. We had to cancel it once, and then we were gonna have food and everything. We ended up doing the episode half-assed when we did it, but it turned out to be a pretty cool
I think
episode.
he found out what we were going to do probably through the grapevine, and he decided not to.
He had,
come
I
those
think he.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's hilarious.
But then when he did come on, he came on prepared, and he had this list of all these reasons why he's Italian. Like he named his dog an Italian name from The Godfather.
Oh my gosh.
He interviewed Sonny from The Godfather, and like all
That's
this.
hilarious.
So we gave it to him. Like, all right, we had Bouncer call in and say,
Right.
"Hey, you're not Italian," and he argued about it. But
Oh my
anyway,
God.
so
That's
anyway, so
hilarious.
thank you for bringing in Doris's.
Cheers.
Right.
Oh, buon appetito.
Right. Bon appetit. Or probably not the best thing to eat. All right.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I know. Yeah.
You good?
I brought
Gonna
food
get you
for a
some milk?
podcast, right?
We did just one episode before where I ate on it, and they were like, "Don't ever eat on the podcast ever again."
Me and you sitting there eating
Yeah.
pasta.
That's what Sonia said. You guys are going to be talking and you brought food, right?
Works
Hi,
for me.
Carlene.
Hi, Dennis.
How are you?
Good. I'm setting up my coffee and tiramisu over here.
All right, you're setting up your bar.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Elmer.
How you doing, Dennis?
How's it going?
Awesome.
So, Elmer Pignon?
Yeah, Pillon.
Pillon?
Yeah, it's a French last name,
It is.
but
okay.
we're full
But you're
Italian. Yeah.
Okay, how does that work out?
My great grandfather was from Monte Carlo, my dad's side,
Okay.
and
The old Riviera?
and he migrated to Lake Como in the north.
Okay.
And my father was born in Lake Como, Milano, Lake Como.
There you go.
And then my mom was from Campobasso, which is about 3 hours south of Rome. And wife was born in Rome.
Really?
Yeah.
When in
Wow.
Rome.
So you guys are like more Italian than Paul Casanova for sure.
Well, I don't have a dog with an Italian name, but yeah, no, just kidding. Yeah.
Right. So for those of you watching on YouTube, because you can watch on the show on YouTube, you can listen on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, which is mostly how I listen to the show because I have going back and forth from here to Coral Springs. I usually just like listen in my car to every single episode. But for those of you watching on the YouTube component, you'll see that we have a guy in scrubs on our show here today.
Not in fishing clothes.
Yeah, not
right?
in his fishing clothes. But you are a guide and a physical therapist.
Yeah.
And you were introduced to me by Jeff Harkavy. as a healer.
As a healer, and I wear scrubs.
Right.
That's a perfect thing, right?
Yeah. And but then he
That's a
started
nice
telling me
thing.
your story a little bit, and we were completely enamored by it. And I wanted to invite you on here so you could tell your story
Awesome.
and how we're all connected by water. I know we
Yeah.
just all attended the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust Symposium this past weekend, which was a phenomenal event.
Incredible.
You know, it was a phenomenal event. Just the Legends panel alone.
I went for the Legends panel.
To see all the
Yeah.
guys in there. Oh, before I talk about the Legends panel, though, but did you go to the film fest the night before?
I didn't.
There was a moment in that film fest where it almost brought Nick and I to tears because Ansel,
Mighty Waters.
Ansel Sanders was in the room when they showed that, and which was a powerful film as a standalone thing, even if you're
Right.
looking at it on your phone.
Right.
But to see that in a ballroom with
him there.
surrounded with him there,
Wow.
2 rows in front of us,
Wow.
in a room filled with masters of fly fishing.
Right.
And when that film ended,
Powerful.
gave him a standing ovation. The whole room just.
I heard
and he
it didn't
stood
stop.
up, and I had to film it on my phone real quick because I'm like, I need to capture this moment. It was really, really beautiful, and that just kind of spells how that weekend went because the rest of the weekend really followed suit to that.
Yeah.
It's such a great organization, Bonefish
Yeah.
and Tarpon Trust. I mean, I'm wearing this hat today because I wanted to talk about it. I mean, I was proud of what happened this weekend.
Right.
I was proud to be an artist set up there, and proud that they asked me to be a part of it. Quite frankly, I mean, it was really, really great.
It's a first-class organization that does a lot of incredible work.
Yeah, and you had got Stu Apt and Andy Mill
Yeah.
up on the Legends panel, and Bouncer Smith and Ansel Sanders was there, and Chico. And,
Chico.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I love Chico. I love him.
And it's not even everyone that was up there, but it was just phenomenal. So before we get into your story,
Yeah.
I want to bring up the do-gooder of the week now. For those of you guys who watch and listen to the show, you know that for some time now, we are working with Starbright to choose our do-gooder of the week. And a do-gooder is someone who is a steward of our environment, our coastal environment. More often than not, they are fishermen. That is the primary subject matter of the show, generally speaking, even though we are connected by water and we talk and feature a lot of different things, including cannolis and tiramisus. Yeah. All right.
It's perfect.
So without further ado, I'm going to bring this up that Corey sent me the do-gooder for this week. I'm going to throw my glasses on real quick. And there are 2 do-gooders, but they work for the same party boat, right? So it is Casey Back and Captain Adam Sidier, right? And these guys are repeat do-gooder offenders, both working on the Ocean Fishing Obsession party boat. Both have done numerous do-gooder deeds. This do-gooder duo, this week's Starbright Weekly winners. And I'm also going to mention that Casey Back just got his captain's license, so congratulations
Awesome.
to Casey. So just so you know, if they're nominated by us, then that means they have done feats of good. So they will receive the Starbright Bucket of Fun, which includes our reggae sponge and our boat wash and our citrus cleaner, the salt off, and a few other things in here, the fuel treatment. And these are all environmentally friendly products. They really are. And they work really well, too,
That's great.
on top of it. And that's what makes them such a great company is like not only are they environmentally friendly, but they work better than most products out there.
That's what I use, too, for mine.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's great stuff. And we're proud to be working with them. And not only just because of their products, but also a lot of the outreach that they do, the mangrove planting programs that they do with Corey up there in the Indian River Lagoon, and and many of the other coastal restoration projects that they do. They back it up. So you as well support coastal restoration. I've heard through the grapevine here, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you kind of tell me how you got started doing what you do now, which is fishing as a guide part-time and also maintaining your life as a physical therapy healer part-time.
Well, I guess it starts I was 3 weeks old the first time I went fishing. My
Mhm.
dad was supposed to babysit for the first time when my mom went back to work, and him and his friend Joe Banana, guy with a big nose.
Yeah.
His name was Sergio Villalta.
Really?
Yeah, two guys. I was born in Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
So my parents met in Toronto in the Italian community. My dad went to night school to learn English. That was his fifth language. And he met Joe Banana. Joe said, "Do you like fishing? I'll take you to a place." They knew a Huron Indian named Elmer Cosino that had a little place where they'd rent cabins and john boats. And Joe took my dad up there, and Elmer just fell in love with my dad
Mhm.
and wanted to teach him everything: how to ice fish, how to spear fish. He would have one hand on a lantern, one on the wheel, and a spear in the other hand, and he would spear walleye at night,
Come on.
reflecting their eyes. This was Elmer. He was
Right.
allowed to do that, right, as a Huron Indian or a native. He taught my dad how to catch muskie, everything. And that's how I was named after Elmer.
You were named after this.
Yeah, I was named after
Wow.
Elmer Cosino, yeah.
Cool.
And he was just an incredible badass fisherman,
Mhm.
you know. But my dad started taking me fishing. I don't remember not fishing.
Right.
And I had my own ice hut when I was 11. I was driving a snowmobile at 6. And at 6, I was probably a little bit shorter than I am now. I was a little guy.
Mhm.
But I'd go fishing on my own when I was 8 in a canoe, catching pike and muskie and stuff. Came down here when I was 17,
Mhm.
just turning 18. And we got a 24-foot robalo, my dad, and we'd go fishing offshore. And I liked it. It felt like fishing for salmon. Instead of downriggers, we're using outriggers. I liked it. But then my wife and I, when we started dating, we got a little boat, blow-up boat from Sports Authority, I think.
Mhm.
They put a little electric motor on the back.
Yeah.
That little like $200 one.
I do.
And we'd go fish, caught our first snook and redfish.
You did too. By the way,
Yeah.
Sonia's in the room today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, caught my first snook in Westlake and Sheridan Street in Hollywood
Okay.
at Ann Nature Center. And then we found out, we put a hole in the boat.
Really?
Yeah, first redfish I caught there. In fact, we caught a lot of redfish there.
You put a hole in the boat while you were fishing?
Yeah, with a hook. Yeah. And we ended up, my dad was with us, and we ended up this close to each other, and we literally walked half a mile back to shore. And my dad called for a taxi, and it was funny. We sank.
Yeah.
But then we bought 2 kayaks, and then that opened up the doors for us to be able to go out and do back. I always wanted to go fish in the mangroves because I went once to Chokoloskee with a friend of Sonia's he brought me, and I said to her, and we came back, I said, it did something to me. And I said, I don't know how we're going to do it. We're broke kids, just waitering and doing whatever. I said, I got to get back there. Like, we got to get back to that. What was that place called? Chokoloskee? What? And so we got kayaks. By the end of our kayaking phase, which lasted a long time, we were doing 16-mile round trips from Chokoloskee, out Sandfly Pass, down to Lopez, back around, and we would do that in a day fishing. And you can't time the tides perfectly, but it taught me a lot about the water. And you
have to time the tides without a outboard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you can't make those mistakes. Like, you have to really understand where you're going, where you're at,
Yeah.
You pay attention to things. So then we got a boat. She said one day, she's like, I'm not doing this anymore, because we were doing CrossFit and stuff. You can't paddle 16 miles and then go, it's a lot. And she said, buy a boat. And I was like,
that's
buy
pretty
a boat.
ambitious. That's pretty ambitious. I don't know. I mean, I do the paddling maybe for like a mile, and I'm like, I'm good. That's my workout for like the year.
Yeah. That's how we started. But then you want to go a little further, and you want to go a little further, and you want to explore, and now we do like 80, 90-mile round trips in a day in the boat. Now you run to Lossman's and Rogers, and it's just, you can explore the whole place the rest of your life, and not fish the same places. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So started physical therapy. I'm a physical therapist assistant. I was working at a place in Boca, and I guess the first time I took someone out, I know what fishing did for me. My mom was sick since I was 8. She was diagnosed with cancer. And every Saturday or Sunday, my dad took me fishing. My mom was in the hospital most of my childhood. And we'd go fishing. And then at 3:00 in the afternoon, we'd go straight to the hospital, even ice fishing, whatever. We'd go in our snowsuits, and we'd always go see my mom after that fishing day. And I got to about 14 or 15, and I started having some resentment to my dad, who fished 3 times a week, right? And I said to him one day, I said, how dare you? You took me fishing every weekend while mom was in the hospital. And my mom stepped between us and said, "How dare you?" She said, "We decided you needed to have balance. We decided together that you were going to go fishing every week because that was like you coming up for air. Like we saw the difference in you when you went fishing. You can't just have sorrow in your life. You have to have balance. And fishing made you so happy." So to me, that was always it changed everything for me. It filled up I guess looking back, my spiritual fuel tank, being
Sure.
out there. Didn't matter what time of year or what we were doing, just to be out there in the elements, and when it's you and the fish, you don't think of anything else. You're 100% present, right? And I had a patient come in a wheelchair, Italian guy named Dennis. For HIPAA,
Really?
I won't violate HIPAA, so I won't say his last name. But he came in, he's a Brooklyn guy, Italian guy, about 32, 33 years old. And he's like, "Yo," he was from, Brooklyn. And he's like, "My man, do you know anything about Guillain-Barré syndrome?" And I said, "Yeah, I know what it is." He said, "You ever treated anyone for it?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, I can't walk. I want to walk. I'm like sort of paralyzed from the ribs down. Think you can help me?" And I said, "I'll do everything in my power to help you walk." So he said, "All right, I'm going to get a prescription. I'm coming." So we start working together, and I every week talk about, we went fishing. I was fishing 3 times a week at that time in my kayak. And he said, "Do you think I'll ever," after about 3-4 months, he goes, "You think I'll ever be able to go kayak fishing with you?" And, I love this guy. Like, I saw the passion in him. He had a 2-year-old baby at the time who's now 18. And I said, "Well, you have to be able to sit unsupported and hold a 5-pound anchor to be able to put it in, without flipping over." So he said, "I want to do it." So we worked for 3 months with him to sit unsupported. First, he would collapse. Then he was able to do more. Then he was able to sit for 5 minutes. Then I get a 1-pound, little pink weight, and have him hold it up, and he would collapse. And 3 months later, he was able to...
You were doing this in the offices?
Yeah, this was physical therapy.
Wow.
And then he was able to hold a 5-pound dumbbell up, the green one, for like 5 minutes. Like just dying, working, holding himself up. And I said, "You're ready." So Sonia and I brought a kayak to his apartment development on a Sunday morning, and we figured out how to get him from the wheelchair to the edge of the pool into the kayak. And he said he could swim with his arms. He had big arms. And he was able to paddle. And then he said, "Can my daughter come in here with me? I've never done anything with her." So I grabbed his daughter. Maybe she was like 3 or 4. Maybe she was old enough. And he sat her on the lap, and he paddled around this pool. It was raining, so there was nobody there. And he was at Deer Creek in Deerfield Beach, and he paddled around the pool. And that was the first thing he ever did with his daughter. Next week, we took him to Key Biscayne. I don't know if you remember Rickenbacker before they made it a beautiful park. You could catch a lot of sea trout right there, like right when you come over the first bridge. So we took him there, and I cut pool noodles. Sonia's idea, made a little railroad, like a roller system, put the kayak on that, transferred him right beside it, put him in the kayak, and we were able to just roll him right into the water.
Wow.
So it was awesome. He caught a bunch of sea trout, and out there he was just like us, right? Just paddling with his arms. And I wanted to show him that the only thing that will limit us is us. Like he told me he was always laying on his back looking at ceiling tiles in a doctor's office, and he was tired of being prodded and picked and analyzed. And that was the first thing he got to do since all of this happened to him, because he was well-bodied before, he got this disease. And after that, he came into the clinic. That was a Sunday. He came into the clinic on Monday, and he said, "Get my leg braces. I'm going to walk." And he walked 50 feet with a rolling walker and knee, ankle, foot orthotics, like leg braces.
Yeah.
First time ever. He was listening to Rocky on his phone.
Come on.
He had that playing, and he put his hat backwards, and he walked 50 feet. And I was like, that's the power of fishing. Like,
wow.
That's it. So I said, my boss said to me, he goes, "Did you take Dennis fishing? Like, do you know there's liability issues and stuff?" I said, "That was on me, not on you."
Yeah.
It was outside of the building. So I said, if I ever got my chance to have my own clinic, I was going to start like an adventure outreach. And 2 years later, I wrote a business plan. I was able to buy a clinic, and we started Health Rehab Adventures. So my therapist looked for somebody that needs a change of heart or an uplift. And I would take them fishing, and I would pay for it. Like I would just pay for the whole day and take them on an adventure. If they're in a wheelchair, if they have Parkinson's, I would bring another therapist, use a gate belt to transfer them, take them to Waxahachie for bass, pick them up at the nursing home. And it was incredible. Then I meet Jeff Harkavy, become good friends with him, treat his sister, right? And one day he said to me, he said, Elmer, you should be a guide. And I said, "A what?" And he said, you should be a guide. And I said, why would I want to do that? He said, you are a guide. You just don't get paid for it.
Right.
You take all these patients out. And I said, I don't know if I didn't want to bring money into it. You know, I sometimes that pollutes things, you know?
Certainly does.
Yeah. And he said, I said, why would you think I should be a guide? Like, you know, I'm doing physical therapy. I'm fishing 3 times a week. He said, because you have what it takes and your enthusiasm's transferable on the water. And I said, okay. He said, have you ever been fishing with a guide? And I said, no. He said, I'm going to take you with Bob Branham. And
I just met Bob this weekend.
Yeah, I saw him.
Great guy.
Yeah, he's such a great guy.
Yeah.
And I saw him out there, and I saw him standing on his polling platform, and he said, hey, Elmer, what's your office look like? I said, like 4 walls, window. I move my desk about every 2 months because I can't stand being locked up, you know? And he said, this is my office. And I said, Bob, I need to get your office. I need an office like this. And all of a sudden, I wanted to be a captain. I wanted to be a guide and take everyone out, you know, that hopefully the people that up in my boat are people that need what I have to offer, you know, it's not just about the fish, right?
It's, you know, to me, the result of the fish is a very small part of the trip. It really is. You know, the actual fish, and it's everything. It's all the space in between. You know, it really makes the trip a 2-year with, especially.
That's a big part.
That makes it, and you know, and I must have talked about this with the people around me in my circle a million times. They're probably tired of hearing it, but I recently just went fishing with Bouncer Smith for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and what a great day!
It must have been incredible.
What a great guy! And it wasn't like, you know, we had this, you know. We caught my first clown knife fish, which was fantastic. That's what
with Bouncer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So we targeted it that day. So just the fact that we converted on that fish was wonderful. But my favorite part of the day was just sitting with Bouncer because he's become such a good friend in the short period of time, and
that's great.
You know, and just hearing his stories and, you know, the laughter and the lighthearted, you know, way he is, and fishing with Captain Bill Lepre, which is such a down to earth guy, and you know, and it was the day. It was really what I take away from it. It wasn't even that clown knife. That was a fun moment, and the way that fish was caught was actually caught it on Bouncer's rod, and he was in an awkward position at the time, and it was going around the engines, and he lifts up the rod but he goes, I can't take this, so I had to grab the rod with it. We switched the rod, so I tell Bouncer I caught it with him together,
right?
Because I'm proud of that.
That makes it even better.
Proud.
Right?
We caught it together, not just me catching it alone. So it's like those moments, I think, that really puts the glue to the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
The more I talk to like some of the older guides in Everglades City, 2 of them in the last month said to me, you know, I'm slowing down. I'm only guiding like 200 trips a year, which is to me a lot. And but they used to do like, that's a lot.
It's still a lot,
Yeah. And he said, you know, fishing's not just about the fishing. It's not about the fish. It's about spending time with people you like to spend time with. And it's to me, it's about celebrating life out there, you know? Physical therapy is about helping people get back to being able to celebrate life, you know? And then the guiding is about actually being able to go out there, you know, you're well enough to go out there and celebrate, you know? And I think people need to do a lot more of that, especially now.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. So now you're still using this component of where you started with it, you know, taking people of need out. Yeah. Is that primarily who you're taking out now?
No.
Or you're taking out everybody?
No, I'm just guiding. I'm taking out people that, you know, want to go out and have a great time. And I was guiding in Stewart part-time, like in the summer for snook. In the spring, I love fly fishing for bass with poppers, like on topwater. That is probably one of my absolute favorite things to do. So I was the only guide in Loxahatchee Preserve, Arthur R. Marshall. Yeah. That's in the spring, Flamingo in the summer, and I would do Chokoloskee in the wintertime. And now we just sold everything here and we moved to the woods. Now we live in Everglades City.
So you're in Everglades City full time now?
Yeah, we lived in Boynton Beach for 16 years.
You're all in.
Yeah, and well, Sonia said to me, I was driving there 3 days a week, so I was spending 26 hours behind the windshield I was working 7 days. I was guiding 3 days and working at the clinic 4 days. And Sonia just said, do you want to move to Everglades City? And I go, yeah. I would get up at 2:50 in the morning and be home around 9. I'd pick up my clients and drive them home too.
Yeah.
Like if they're on the way, because I lived so far. It's like, well, if you're in Boca, I'll just pick you up, like camaraderie. We'll spend time in the car too. Why not? And she said, do you want to move to Everglades City? And I was like, what are you talking about? You would move to Everglades City? Because she's big into CrossFit. CrossFit Point Beach is our family, and she's Olympic weightlifter. And I said, you're going to leave all that? She goes, we'll put a CrossFit in our, in the stilted home downstairs or something. We'll figure it out. I said, really? She said, yeah. I said, for sale. That's it.
Yeah.
And we sold the house right away.
Sounds like you got a good one over there.
25 years.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
We're looking at each other over here. She's got a couple great suggestions for sure.
So that's it. So we sold our house and we rented a house with a 6-month contract down there. And, anything good for sale in Everglades City never makes it to Zillow. Like you have to know somebody. So we would drive around every day looking for sale signs. And then one day, like 2 months in, we found a for sale by owner. And have you ever been to Everglades City?
No.
No?
I have actually never been down there.
You got to come down there.
Yeah.
As soon as you come into town, there's a bunch of houses on the left-hand side that are on the water. And we were able to get one of those. So it's awesome. You can catch tarpon and snook like 5-minute paddle in the backyard, and you're catching redfish on fly.
Yeah, you're getting me.
Yeah, let's not put the address out on air.
Yeah, no. But it's
right-hand side.
There's 350 people in town. It's like if you go there, you'll find anyone you want, right? So
all my CrossFit stuff.
Right. Well, the stuff that didn't get wrecked in the hurricane, right?
Yeah, right. Wow.
So
how did it go to the hurricane down there?
We got 3.5 feet of water in the house. We came to Coral Springs. I brought the boat over this way because I figured my polling platform would go through my bedroom if it started to float.
Right.
So we took it over and we went back. It was overwhelming to go back and see all the damage. We had a lot of our family videos, skate videos, parent things. All our parents have passed away, so we had that stuff's sentimental. We lost like 80% of it. Oh
man, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. My neighbor said to me, sweet neighbors, Connie and Cecil. Connie said, we had like a 40-foot like strip of things out on the on the curb.
Yeah.
And about 4 feet high. And she said, we lost that much in Irma 5 years ago. She goes, it said, and I just looked at her and I said, Connie, like it gutted us. But I said, I'm not putting any of that stuff in my casket, Right. Like I have it all here.
Yeah.
So, just go forward. So, but we lost
that's a positive way to look at it, for sure.
I was so down. Like, I'm not a depressed guy.
Uh-huh.
But I
got that so far.
Yeah, but I was so down by day 2 of ripping the walls out and throwing away all of our furniture and everything. We had to go to Immokalee to get fuel. So we went up there with a bunch of fuel cans, and I said to her, I want you to drive. I said, because we didn't have any phone service. I got phone service in Immokalee, so I made a post on Facebook through the clinic, and I said I'm starting a fundraiser for Everglades City right now because in Irma, Everglades City was really forgotten. When we went down there 2 weeks later, like everyone thought of everyone else, the Keys and everything, but Everglades City is sort of a forgotten kind of place. And
well, when you say Everglades City, like where you go through the Keys, I mean, I've been to Everglades City, and then down to the park and everything. Like
that's Florida City,
right? The Florida City. Yeah. Now, where's Everglades City?
I'm 2 hours west of that.
West of it, right? So closer to Chokoloskee.
Yeah, they're right next to each other.
Okay.
Yeah, so this Everglades City and Chokoloskee are sort of attached by a little causeway, like a little strip. So it's the same place, basically. They're two little. Everglades City is an island in the Everglades, sort of surrounded by the Barren River, and then there's a little causeway that goes to Chokoloskee, which is the outermost point, like the end of Highway 29.
Okay.
So as soon as I posted that, one of my clients, who's an awesome guy, Venmos me or Zells me $500. And then other people, we ended up raising in 2 weeks $8,300, and we gave
nice.
In supplies about $5,000 in money, monetary. So we're able to give it to 2 of the local outreaches that are really grassroots. One's called Reach Out, and if anyone has a need, like they just go to Reach Out and they vet the need to make sure it's for certain, and then they help them. So a lot of it went to drywall and We got air conditioners. Our friends at Pac-Mail in Coral Springs, Scott and Scott. I don't know if you know them. They did a drive. They raised almost $1,000 and air conditioners. So
thank you, Colleen.
It was pretty incredible to see the outreach, that we just sort of spun it in motion.
Right.
As I felt so bad about us, but I said, there's people that can't afford to, there's people that are really going to struggle here. Like, how can we help them? And it's like all of our patients, a patient came up to me and said, I saw, like, I had it on the dry erase board, for Everglades City. And she said, I'm going to write you a check at the front counter later. And she wrote me a check for $500. Like,
yeah,
it took me to tears, that people are moved to help. So it was pretty awesome.
One thing that I get out of all this, like the giving back and the helping people out is, number one, I always think that helping others is the best feeling in the world, right? It really is. And I'm not just saying that, you know what I mean, for any back pats or anything like that, but it truly is. Like, there's a high to it.
The gift is for the giver.
100%.
It's true.
And it's like, I always say, if you're going to win the lottery, you're going to feel great, but that feeling is fleeting. And you really, truly help someone out in their life, that's forever.
Yeah.
That really is, because no one can ever take that away from you. Money can go, money can get spent, money can burn, right? But what you do as the good that you do in life is permanent.
Yeah.
And that doesn't,
and the impact.
And the impact. That's what I mean, because
right.
Those things really, that's what really matters.
Yeah.
In this world, and at the end of the day, like you said, it's not going in your casket. You're not taking it with you, and all that you can leave behind in this world is your legacy, right? And what do you want your legacy to be? You want your legacy to be that I won in life and got the most things, or do you want your legacy to be
caught
like
the most fish or whatever? Right. Things that
I wish more people would look at it like their legacy is like, I helped the most people. Right.
That's where you get to live in other people.
Yeah.
I gave a keynote speech for South University's graduating physical therapy class. And I said basically what you just said, like, we all have the power to change somebody's life, or to pick up the pen of somebody else's life's book and write a sentence in it, or a paragraph, or a chapter, right? Depending on how much you've done for them or how it impacted them. Like, we all have the opportunity to impact someone's life for the better or worse, right? Emotions are contagious, right? What we do for each other.
Very contagious.
Yeah, what we do, like, you can uplift a room or you can bring a room down, right? The same on the boat. You can, as a captain or anyone on the boat, can frame the boat in a positive or negative way.
Sure.
It can be an adventure, or it could be the most miserable trip that you can't wait to get to the dock, right?
Are you a yeller, or are you a teacher? I mean, what's your vibe?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we have the power to do that. I think the more we realize that, how we can influence each other and help each other and impact each other, you can choose to do it and have incredible impact, or you can not pick up the pen, right?
That story that you told me about Dennis.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Huge.
Really? I mean, how
I learned from it. I wasn't planning any of it.
The work that went into that, right?
Yeah.
The work that went into that, and all the steps that you guys took to get to that point.
Yeah.
Just to catch a fish.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't about just the fish. That was just that was the finish line. That was the cherry on top. That was it was like, man, that was the accomplishment. But that wasn't the marathon that you ran, and man,
the goal was to be able to get out there.
How good did he feel after that? I mean, how good did you feel after that when he caught that fish? I mean, come on.
I honestly, I felt that I was. I want to say it I'm saying this in the most humble way I could.
Of course.
Say it, but I felt like I didn't deserve to be used by God that way with how I felt. I felt so good that I got to share that. And Sonia was there and 8 of my friends were there. So it's not just me. Like, I needed all my friends with kayaks to come because I didn't know what was going to happen, So I was like, guys, like, I need everybody there, and don't, just help me if I need help, but I don't even know how I'm going to need help. Like, I didn't know how it was going to work. And then it started to work. And I just said, like, I believe in God. And I said, God, thanks for using me today. Like, that was it.
I love this.
And I want to be used more like that.
Yeah.
I want God to put the people in my boat that need to come on the boat with me, and because it's not just about the fishing, it's about, like, to me, the Everglades is God's church. Like anything in nature is like, I love going to church. I went yesterday, a little white church in town in Everglades City, but I feel closer to God when I'm in the mangroves.
Sure.
Yeah,
definitely. My wife and I talk about that all the time. And thank you for bringing the big guy up. And I was hoping you would, because I was going to bring it up too. And I wanted to ask you that. Now, we're meeting for the first time. Anyone who's watched or listened to the show knows that that's one of my favorite things in the world, is meeting someone for the first time on the show and having such a great conversation with them. And I kind of started getting that just from you and all the work that you put into it. And I was going to ask you point blank, and you brought it up first.
Yeah.
How much does God play a role in what you do?
Everything.
Right?
Yeah. So I work for a boss. Like I remember my neighbor when I got my clinic, he said, "Now you're a boss. You can do what you want." And I was like, no. I said, that's my boss. And if it's fishing, if my job's, I want God to use me where he wants to use me. If he doesn't want me to guide, then I don't want to guide. If he doesn't want me to do wherever he needs me, he doesn't need me. Let's say that.
Right.
But wherever he can use whatever talent he's given me or whatever passion he's given me, they say where your burden meets your talent, that's your bullseye. That's where you need to be in life. My talent or my passion is fishing and is physical therapy, right? My burden is suffering. I know that because I watched my mom suffer for 20 years. A year later, my dad suffered for 7. Sonia's mom was paralyzed with MS for 17 years. We took care of all of them. And my burden is suffering. I cannot stand to see somebody suffer. So if it's mental, they're going through a tough time and they need a day on the water, that's the person I want to randomly find me, email me and say, "Hey, I'd like to go fishing with you," So I look at it all as an opportunity to, try and give them the best experience. But my hope is yes, to catch fish, but for them to fall in love with the Everglades, because people will protect what they love, right? But also to let them come up for air, like life was hectic before COVID, but even like now I feel like things are, even though we're back to normal, but I just feel like life's more hectic. People are more stressed,
absolutely.
There's more chaos.
Yeah.
So when you take people out there, and I always like to take people out at safe light, early, because I want them to be 10 miles in when the sun's coming up. And when they start to see all the ibis flying overhead and you see them,
great, isn't it?
Yeah, coming off their roosts, and the pinks and the purples and the oranges. Like when they see that and you see their face and they're just like there's no stress in them right there, and to be able to, Jesus said, if you feel weary, go to the wilderness and pray. I get to be the guy to take them in the wilderness so they could relax and sort of get back to true north if they're 5 degrees off and life's going crazy.
Yeah.
Get to be the one to sort of bring them back. So, just to facilitate that, right? It's pretty awesome.
My wife and I, we talked about this recently about nature versus church. And we go to church every Sunday.
Oh, awesome.
We have a 9-year-old and 11-year-old, and we're raising them under God.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's for sure.
That's fantastic.
My father was a deacon, so we have a pretty good foundation of faith in our family. I don't always talk about it on the show and everything like that, but I'm glad that you're here to give me the opportunity to be able to open up and talk about that.
That's
which
awesome.
is pretty cool because I don't it's nice that you're drawing that out of me right now.
That's awesome.
But we had a conversation about that recently, where she's like, "Well, it doesn't always have to be in the box, right?" And I go, "No, it doesn't." I said I personally like the structure of church. I like the foundation because I feel like without it, over generations of time, it would just get lost.
Sure.
Right. So I think that's why I think church is an important structure, church, temple, whatever,
foundation,
whatever your conduit to God is. I believe those are important places
mosque,
to go.
Right?
Yeah,
sure.
100%.
Yep.
I believe they're important places to go, to community and bring in and be with your people of same faith and discuss and feel and hope and all that. But God is everywhere, and it doesn't have to be in church, right? And nature is just it's His way of speaking to us. And that is probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm such a big proponent of conservation, and why I really do believe that we need to protect what He's given us, We need to respect it.
It's a sanctuary
and support it. Yeah. And I think that is what the earth is, what He's given to us.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have to be good stewards of it. Right. Exactly. We have dominion over all animals. It's in the Bible, right?
Yep.
We have dominion, but that's a responsibility. That's not just go out and slaughter everything and we have to be good stewards of what He gives us, right?
Yeah. And you're going to find, we've discussed it on the show plenty, the best conservationists are the ones that actually use the land for its purpose.
Yeah.
Right? So, or the sea.
Right.
For its purpose.
Right.
And those are the people that are actually taking the best care of it.
Right.
It's those that aren't using it for their purpose the most or the most often that don't always respect it, and more likely are to neglect it. That's not everybody, but more often than not.
Right.
If you're on there every day, and you see someone throw plastic in the ocean, for example, you're going to be very upset about that because no, this is my church, as you said, or this is my playground, or this is however you want to name it.
We see so many of those balloons. Those
Mylar balloons are horrible.
After Valentine's Day, we must have picked up 20 red heart balloons, like in 30 miles in the mangroves. Yeah, it breaks your heart to see all that.
Yeah, definitely. How much is conservation playing a role in what you do?
So when I got my captain's license and I bought the boat, I said I'd never spend that much money on a boat, and I wanted, the guide boat.
You got to listen to your wife when she says buy a boat.
Right.
You buy a boat.
Well, this was the second boat. The first boat cost me $5,000. I did 860 trips in 6 years.
On a $5,000 boat?
Yeah, on a $5,000 17-foot Mitzi skiff.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, and it caught fire and I almost died on it. It was incredible. So I was driving it while it was up in flames at full speed.
Man, you have passion for this. I love it.
Yeah, I had smoke inhalation. I was crying, like my eyes were watering. It was crazy. But
you're not taking me today, God.
Yeah, he didn't. He let me live another day. But everything I have to do, there has to be a purpose behind it. I can't do anything without, like you said about working out, you have to have a goal. Like I can't do anything without a purpose. I feel like I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
So I can't just have a guide business where I'm trading money to take people to catch fish. I can't do that. There has to be way more to it than that. So I believe in tithing.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay.
Absolutely.
Said, all right. So the first year I said, I'm going to donate. I checked with the boss. She said it was okay. Said, I want to donate 10% of my gross revenue. Any money I make with Rhino Diaries Adventures, that's guide service. Said, I want to donate 10% to a charity. So I came up with 6 charities that were dear to my heart. Bonefish Tarpon Trust, IGFA, Herman Lucerne, Captains for Clean Water. There was a few.
Yeah. All solid organizations.
Yeah, all solid. This last year, I brought it down because I'm not guiding a lot, and I feel like I wasn't giving anyone enough money.
Mm-hmm.
Makes
sense.
It was like $5,000 or $6,000 all combined. And then I'd give away trips for the silent auctions. Try and help that way too. So right now I'm doing IGFA, which I'm one of the ambassadors for Florida.
Okay.
Helping with their kids programs and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Just bring up the next generation of ethical anglers. That's a big thing for me. And then Bonefish Tarpon Trust,
mm-hmm.
which I love the science, and that a lot of people get to use their science for the water quality and stuff. They have incredible research that they do. And then the third one is SOS Children's Village in Coconut Creek.
Tell me about that.
So
SOS Children's Village?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Wow. What is that all about?
Creek. So the kids that are in there, I came to find out, have gone through the most damage. They've gone through the worst that you could possibly think of in order to land at SOS Children's Village. So I'm treating this girl. I wear Vans because I used to do shows for Vans shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I used to travel around doing half pipe shows for them. And every stop, we'd go to the hotel room and there'd be a brand new box of Vans every week.
Yeah, nice.
And it was really
Full
cool.
disclosure, we did discuss before he came on the show that we both have a skateboarding background and surfing background and everything like that. So
it's pretty awesome. But so this girl was wearing Vans and she was 12 years old. And she was a tough little girl. They said the therapist called out, so can you treat her? So I jumped on the floor and I was working with her. And she's like, at the end, she's like, you're really cool and you have cool shoes. I'm only coming back if I get to work with you. And I was like, sure. Like, she was a cool little girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
So about 2 weeks in, she comes in, and she was a tough little kid, and she comes in all happy and smiling. She says, I'm going to see my dad in 2 weeks. And I said, is that why you're so happy? She said, yeah. I said, okay. I'm thinking, okay, parents are divorced, right? She's like, where's your dad live? She said, he's in prison. I was like, oh, so you live with your mom? Like, just thinking out loud. She said, I never met my mom. I said, where do you live? She said, SOS Children's Village. I said, what is that? We don't have kids, so I don't know like anything about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked it up.
I've never heard of the place.
Yeah, I looked it up. My wife's like, I said, do you ever hear about this? She goes, that's what the place I was telling you about. We need to do something for them.
Yeah.
So I called them.
Because he never listens to you, right?
Right.
Start listening to your wife.
She's got great ideas all the time, right?
I get told that too.
Right.
So just,
I'm just
you know,
a little
it's not
slow
just you.
to comprehend because she's on a different level than I am, right?
I get told that by two people, my wife and by her.
Oh, there you go, right? So long story short, I called them right away and I said, can I throw a barbecue for you guys? And they're like, well, we don't know your organization. You know, I said, I'm treating one of your kids. Like, yeah, we still don't know you. You know, like these kids are really protected. You know, they live in 14 homes in a cul-de-sac all by themselves. You know, it's like very, very strict and everything. She said, you can come and do reverse trick-or-treating. Halloween's coming up. So you guys dress up and bring candy door to door. If that goes good, then we'll let you throw a barbecue. Okay. So now I'm treating this. So we do it and everything's good. I dress like a clown. We go.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, they got to kind of watch that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They have to sort of vet you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, to see what you guys are about or if you're doing it for
It's good
the
that
wrong
they do that.
reasons,
Yeah, it's good
right?
they do that.
If you're
Yeah.
doing it just so you can take a picture and say, look what we did, right?
Right.
It's they get a lot of that. So we have this 12th grader that's like 240 pounds that came from there, like a big football player. And he said, hey, Elmer, I heard you're doing like a barbecue for us. Can I talk to you? And I was like, sure. He's like, we get a barbecue every weekend. He goes, and we're grateful for it. He goes, and he was like the big brother of all the kids. There's 72 kids there. And he said, can you not do burgers and hot dogs? Could you do chicken wings? Because all
I
we
want
get
my
is
barbecue chicken, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
putting
he's
my
like-
order in now.
He's like,
Yeah.
we get burgers and hot dogs every weekend. We just want like, could you do some chicken too? And I was like, I'll do better than that. Do you remember Salt Life
No.
restaurant?
Oh,
in
yeah,
Coral
yeah.
Springs?
No, I was just kidding with you.
Yeah. So we got, I said, I'm not going to do barbecue. I'm going to do a
Yeah.
block party. So I said, I'm going to try and bring as much stuff into this cul-de-sac they have.
Mhm.
So we brought a rock climbing wall. We had a jump house. We had a petting zoo. We had taiko drummers teach taiko drumming. I had a bunch of workshops set up, like 6, 7 different things: CrossFit, hip hop dance, parkour, like a guy that did a TED talk for parkour. And then I had a speaker at lunch where we had 5 restaurants provide the food. It took me like 4 months to plan this whole thing. And we got Channing Crowder, Miami Dolphins player.
Yeah.
He did his testimony about running
Channing's
drugs.
great.
Yeah, he was incredible.
He's a great guy.
And he inspired these kids. And then the next year we got Tiffany Cohen, Olympic gold medalist swimmer, 2 gold medals, a silver and a bronze. And the third year I did it as an X Games skater. I was in the X Games and stuff for a half pipe. So I did it as
You were in the X Games?
Yeah, twice. Yeah. I did
Really?
Twice for Global X Games and then Summer X. X Games 9.
My Lord.
Yeah, I think we're on 22
Literally,
or something.
God
right
gave
now.
you a motor.
Yeah, it was fun. I love skating half pipe. But it was incredible. So every year we, it got sort of better and better and evolved. And what's that? Yeah. And then I took a couple fishing. And then the last party we did, the last one was just before COVID hit. So we do it every fall when they're going back to school. We do a back to school drive for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have like 20 different universities, colleges, stores, retail stores, doctor's offices, take a little basket and just fill the little basket up. And we get a U-Haul truck filled with back to school supplies for the kids. And when they have too much, they overflow it to different villages. And we do the same thing for Christmas. So we've been doing that for 11 years. The last block party we got to do with the IGFA, and we got all the kids certified, IGFA certified for their passport to fishing for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Their goal was 100,000 kids.
Yep.
So we got all 72 kids. They went through all the 5 modules of fishing, and then we all fished at Tradewinds Park. We had a big gazebo there, and it was incredible to have like 100 fishing rods there.
I'm blown away by this.
Yeah, it was
All
incredible.
It is incredible.
And then that's when I got to become Jeff.
Mhm.
Said to them like Elmer would be a great ambassador, and I said like that would be an honor for me to, be able to work with the IGFA. And then this past year, they asked me to be a captain for them. So I just became one of the IGFA captains, and it's been incredible. Like, it's just been incredible.
Good work is infectious.
Yeah.
You said it earlier. Because I think you're making everybody in this room right now, and I'm pretty sure anyone who's going to listen to this or watch this want to do better with their lives. That's what I'm getting out of this. You know, I think that's really that's the definition of inspiration.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
This is phenomenal stuff. When COVID hit, that must have killed you guys.
We closed.
That must have been tough.
We had to shut down the clinic.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Should I pick that up?
Oh, you have to. Jeff Harkavy.
Hello, my friend. Are you there? Hold on a second. All right. Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. You don't mind that we're putting you live on the podcast right now, do you?
You know, I wouldn't mind at all.
That's fantastic.
What's up, Jeff?
So I'm sitting here with Elmer, and, you know, I got to thank you for putting this guy into my life. He's amazing.
He is that and more, which is part of the reason I thought he should be in your path, because two incredible people who are like-minded in their love of the resource and their passion for this sport really ought to know each other. I think together, guys like you, 1 and 1 equals like 28.
Yeah.
So glad Elmer's on the show with you, and look forward to seeing you guys both soon.
Yeah, we were just talking about the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust Symposium weekend and how much we got out of that. Right down, starting off with the film festival with Ansel there and the standing ovation, and then the Legends panel and how you ran that so great, and it was just an inspiring weekend.
Incredible.
And for me to now sit down, the next day with Elmer, it is really kind of bringing it all full circle. Personally, for me.
Yeah, well, it warms my heart. When you and I spoke a few weeks back, I was thinking of ideas, good individuals who would be worthy of your podcast and add value in a big way. And Elmer was certainly top of that list. And Captain Pelon, I'm so glad that you're there. And I'm glad you guys have met and you're throwing down some good stories and dialogue for your podcast, which is the podcast itself is a blessing.
Yeah, I want to ask you something, Jeff. I don't know if I announce you properly. This is Jeff Harkavy, good friend of ours, recent guest on the show. One of the pioneers of the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust. I want to ask you, in your mind, from out of the horse's mouth, what was your take on the symposium this weekend? As in compared to others that you've had in the past, because I know you do one only like once every 3 years. COVID kind of got in the way of your scheduling. We're finally able to get this one up in PGA National, and it was a great weekend. But from your perspective, how do you think everything went?
I couldn't be more pleased. Not just that it was our biggest audience, and the audience included some of the greatest of players in our sport, but it's like a connected by water theme. You see the power of what this sport does and how it does bring folks together. It's an amazing community, and everyone showed up to this party. Everyone participated. Dialogues and the panel discussions were deeper, more meaningful than I think they've ever been. And I've heard from dozens of people since everyone left the PGA on Sunday, and there's just such an extraordinary afterglow.
Yeah,
we've gained more new research partners, and we've built more relationships, and it makes me very happy, and I feel very encouraged about how the resource that we all love will benefit because of this gathering.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, definitely new ideas were shared. One takeaway that I got from it was the pharmaceuticals that we're finding in the water, and that's directly related to the results of the science that the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust has been implementing, which is monumental. If you ask me, just the discovery of that alone has been impactful, and hopefully then that can be followed by some positive action.
Well, I couldn't agree more with that. It's one of the biggest areas of concern for me. We have proven now that those pharmaceuticals are causing problems to the fishery, and we now take on the role of using science, as we do, for advocacy. And now the advocacy efforts will begin and go full throttle. We'll bring aboard partners to help us effectively advocate. And that's an exciting new chapter for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have a Connected by Water 100% behind you. Should you ever need or want to use our resource, it's at your beck and call.
I know that, and I thank you for that. And I would say that at some juncture, you have an opportunity to have some BCT scientists on board, whether it's Aaron Adams or Ross Buchek or Jennifer Rehaig, who wrote the research, who led the science research for discovering the pharmaceuticals. That could happen and probably ought to happen. And I can't think of a better medium than Dennis Friel's Connected by Water for that conversation to take place.
No, I appreciate you saying that. Listen, I want to switch the gears here to Elmer.
Okay.
Because
let's do that. And I can sign off at any time. Heather's waiting for me in the parking lot. It's raining in Key West.
Are you still in Key West right now?
We're in Key West. We had a great day of fishing, and we're meeting up with our captain friends for dinner and fishing again tomorrow if it's not raining as hard as it is right now.
That's fantastic. We all got this little baby hurricane coming our way, so it's just kind of inconveniencing our lives a little bit. So hopefully you guys stay a little dry there for the remainder of your trip.
Well, as we speak, I'm running through the parking lot in rain and
I can
staying
picture
very dry now. Dennis is throwing down a podcast with Elmer.
Right now, in the moment.
Oh, it's Heather.
Heather's driving.
The whole family.
Oh, you got me on Bluetooth?
Can you guys hear us all right?
Oh, perfectly. We got double trouble here. Both Harkavies, and in one shot. This is a treat.
And Captain Elmer Pillon.
Can they hear me or no?
Yeah, well, yeah.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Elmer? All right, we've got approximately 2 minutes to talk before we're late for dinner. So how should we wisely use that time?
All right.
Well, I want to say this, and I want you guys to chime in. When Elmer was introduced to me by you, Jeff, or the idea of Elmer was introduced to me, you said you're introducing to me a healer, right? And I got that in the first 5 minutes because he's wearing his scrubs right now. He came right from work. I'm like, okay, this guy definitely is a healer. But he's not only healing people physically; he's healing people emotionally. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, hey, I think I shared the story with you already about the amazing connection Elmer had with my sister Julie after her stroke, and how he helped bring her to a place where she accepted her new limitations and disability. But he's done that for many. Elmer's had various patients who were in wheelchairs, and he was able to get them on board his boat safely, show them an amazing day of fishing, give them an experience in the outdoors, a connection by water where they could enjoy and feel, that they were able to benefit and participate as well. And no one had taken the effort to do that. And quite frankly, it was physically difficult. And Elmer to sometimes carry people on and off his boat for that purpose. But he used fishing and being on the water as a therapy tool, and in doing so made a huge difference in the life of many.
That's fantastic. Using your powers for good.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, that's phenomenal stuff. Real quick, I know you guys got to go. But what'd you catch this weekend?
Wait, I want to hype Elmer up real quick.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, Elmer. Elmer
This
also
is
just
awkward.
has such an unmatched energy. Like, your enthusiasm for every single thing that happens on the boat that day is so special, and life especially. It's crazy. And you're also just like, it's crazy how you can put Elmer on. Oh no, I missed my turn. You can put Elmer on specific water, any water, and he's just got that sixth sense to him. He can figure it out. He gets dialed because he works really hard, runs off of, I don't think, any sleep, and constantly still shows up with more energy than everyone else, and 110% always.
Yeah, I got to echo in on that. I have not seen anyone learn and grow in the sport of fishing with the trajectory of my friend Captain Elmer Pilon. He just masters things quickly. He studies things thoroughly. He takes notes. He keeps a very stringent log, and quite frankly, doesn't even need his GPS in places where most people get lost with a GPS. He's really, really, really gifted in the sport of fishing and in the sport of human relations and the sport of healing.
I got to meet this guy. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, man, just look in the mirror, brother.
Thank you, guys.
I love it.
That was as awkward as it could ever be being me. So thank you.
Yeah, I bet you're bright red right now.
Yeah, a little bit. But you know what? It's worth it. It's worth it.
Gotcha.
Such a treat, guys. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah.
Hey, wonderful. Have a good time, guys. Keep it going. Keep the reel rolling.
Right.
Absolutely.
Awesome. God bless you guys.
We're going to Big Bear when you get back.
Okay, great.
Cheers to that.
All right.
Air hug to all.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
And a big shout out to Nick as well. He's awesome.
There he goes. He just gave you double horns.
What's up, boy?
Yeah, great to be with you this weekend, Nick DeSantis.
Yeah.
Ciao, guys. Bye.
All right. See you guys.
He's such a great guy.
Yeah.
He's my fishing mentor.
Yeah.
I learned how to fly fish. I was 8. I got a fly rod.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's friend gave me one. And I would just catch little like crappie and brim, in Canada, like on little poppers. I never really did anything with it. And a patient. Do you ever heard of a guy named Jack Bass Allen? He was like the king of pop. He was in the Miami Herald. They called him the king of poppers. The king of pop was Michael Jackson. King of poppers. He was one of my patients. He taught me how to double hull, like how to cast a fly properly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Andy Mill on that stage, I got to fish with him at Adios golf course with one of my patients brought me there, and he brought Andy Mill as a special
You fished
guest.
at Adios?
Yeah, I don't like to golf. I just want to fish it.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to fish
How's the fishing there?
It's incredible. Every cast you catch a fish.
I am so curious about this because, oh my God, thank you for bringing this up because I just played Adios like a month ago for the first time ever.
It's like Disney World.
Yes.
It's so unbelievable.
That place is beautiful.
Wow. Every cast you can catch.
But I got to tell you here, this is so, oh my God, this is so funny you're bringing this up because, all right, so Adios is a very private, very exclusive course.
Oh my Lord.
Right? And you can only get there if you're invited, but if you are invited, they treat you like a king. They treat you like you're a member. I walk in the front door, and the guy who invited me to play with him is already there, but he had to take a meeting with a client, so they went to a private room. Their client, so I'm coming in by myself, ungreeted by my friend, but I'm greeted at the front desk. And they're like, "Oh yes, Mr. Friel, well, let me take you to your locker." I'm like, "Take me to my locker." I'm like, "No, my clubs, I could just hit the range. It's fine." Like, no. Get to my locker. Like, they got my name engraved on there. I'm a guest for the day, right?
Did you see all the other names around you?
Yeah, I looked to my left, and guess who the name is?
Michael Jordan.
Andy Mill.
Oh, Andy Mill. Oh, you're kidding.
Right? And I'm like, oh my God, this is what?
Yeah.
And then I see Jason Taylor, Dan Marino.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. But that place, I always say, I think they cut the grass with scissors. Like, the place is immaculate.
Incredible.
But you fished there, because I was wondering, I'm like, can you fish here? But apparently you could do anything there you want to, but that's kind of like the rule.
Yeah, patient wanted to thank me for therapy, and he said, "You're going to come."
You fished with Andy Mill on that course?
Yeah. So
really?
I didn't know he was going to show up. But my patient, he was an older Italian gentleman from Detroit.
Okay.
And he said, "Elmer, I'm going to take you play golf, and we're going to have dinner. You're going to have a whole day with me and you." And I said, "Well, I really don't want to golf because I see what it does to you guys. I already have a passion like that. It's fishing. I can't have both. So I never want to swing a golf club because I know I'll be addicted to that too." And I said, can I fish it? He goes, you're with me. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So he says he's bringing a special guest. Here comes a Land Rover with a guy with rubber boots and this big like Stetson cowboy hat. And he was Andy Mill. I brought a fly rod and I brought like 6 other rods, like bait casters and everything. And not knowing, what to use. And that's what we had in the back of the cart was all these fishing rods. And Andy Mill said, you brought a fly rod? And I said, yeah. And I know he was like the #1 tarpon guy in the world at that time. He was just before he wrote his book. And I said, yeah. And I was so scared to cast in front of him.
I bet damn well you were.
Yeah. And he said, why don't
I
you
think
pull
anybody in their right mind would be.
He said, why don't you pull that fly rod out? Let me see you cast it. And I have a dry heaving problem. When I get excited or nervous, I start to dry heave.
Okay.
And I go get it and I'm like, I'm so scared to cast in front of this guy. Awesome. And so I cast and it went out right. Like it was okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to tie a leader, and I didn't know anything about like what sections of what section. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about that. And I just went straight like 10-pound test or whatever. I don't know what I did. And then he said, wow, you can double haul. He goes, let's catch a few fish. So we caught like 3 or 4 bass. And he said, let's stop fishing. Let's go to the back green where it's just really open. He goes, you're like in high school. Let me bring you to like graduate Harvard in an hour. He showed me stuff. He said, so then we went near the water after he taught me a bunch of stuff like a backcast. I never knew there was a backcast. I didn't know anything. He said, if you have your popper and there's a tarp in there and you don't want him to hear it come out of the water because you have to recast, this is how you get a popper out of the water without making noise. And he did this thing and he took it out of the water and he's like, okay, try it. So I was like, poof, I got it. So he's like, all right, now you want to lay a fly down sideways. He goes, so it doesn't splash at all. He goes, this is how you do that. And he's like, okay, try it. So like an hour and a half. And he like got me super excited about fly fishing, to say the least. And so
are you still puking at this point?
No, I was okay after that. Okay. Every time I go fishing in the first 5 minutes, doesn't matter if it's just us on a Thursday morning, I'm so excited to go fishing. I'm like, what? And she's like, are you puking? And I was like, no, I'm okay. Like, it's like crazy. I'm like Cartman on South Park. Like, I get so excited. Like even if I was going to the half pipe and I said to myself in the morning, like I woke up and I said, tonight I'm going to try a 1080 McTwist.
Right.
Like I'm going all, that's it.
You can pull off a 1080 McTwist?
No, 900 McTwist I can pull off. Fakie 900 McTwist,
really?
720 McTwist, flat spin 540s, 1080 McTwist. I've landed, but it doesn't count. I skated 4 feet.
Right.
Canada, we have Much Music. It's like MTV. It was like their festival. It was big trick comp. And I would have been the first person to land a 1080 McTwist on the planet on rollerblades. I skate for rollerblade. And I skated down the ramp. I threw my arms up in the air and my skates came out from under me.
Oh.
But I got like both of those from skating.
I say that
graphs.
counts. I say it counts.
I wish it counts.
But when did you play this adios with? When did you do this adios thing with Andy Mill? How long ago was
that?
That
must have been 2005.
2005.
2004. Yeah. And then Jeff, when I met him, we went kayak. I invited him to go kayak fishing in Stewart. He brought a fly rod, and he just got me. He's the one that really like woke up fly fishing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then in COVID, I started tying because we had downtime. So I started tying my own flies. I tied a Everglades EP Everglades minnow. I went in my backyard and I caught 2 peacock bass on it, and that was it. Like that's a special thing when you catch when you tie a fly and you take a bunch of stuff, make it look like a beautiful little minnow, and you catch a fish on it. So I just I love it.
God put you there on that course with Andy Mill.
I believe.
For a reason.
Yeah, I believe.
Right?
Yep.
To give you the gift, to give you the tools.
Yep.
To do what you needed to do in life.
I believe everything's on purpose. I don't believe in.
How much did that hour and a half, or however long,
it's priceless,
benefit you from that point moving forward
priceless.
To be able to do what you do now,
priceless.
To give back to like mankind, and give back to nature, and give and all that, right?
Yeah, no, priceless.
It's like God knew you were the vessel to get that lesson,
and He wouldn't even know who I am. Like I'm sure He's helped so many people.
I don't know. He might remember,
but
he's
incredible.
not a dumb guy.
Yeah, on that Legends panel.
Yeah.
We
did
were
you
sitting.
Go up to him?
No, I did at the last symposium.
Okay.
I went up to him and I saw him in the expo,
Okay.
And I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Mill." I said, I want to reintroduce myself to you. I fish with, Anthony and you. Adios. I remember that, and I said, "You helped me so much. Like, you brought my game up so much. I appreciate it." He told me, and I didn't understand what he was telling me. He said, at the end, he said, "This is what I want you to do. You live on a lake, right?" You said. I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Can you walk around it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "When you come home from work, I want you to grab your fly rod. No TV, no nothing. Like, we never watch TV or anything. It's just fishing work, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "I want you to walk around your lake, go left. I don't care what the wind is, go left one day. Next day, I want you to go right." I thought he meant cast with your left hand one day, cast with your right hand the next.
Stop it. Now you're
so for like
ambidextrous?
10 years, for 10 years, I can fly fish equally as bad with both hands.
By accident.
Yeah. I never backcast because so I'm fishing with Steve Thomas in the Herman Lucerne, or actually before the Herman, and there's 8 tarpon coming down. I haven't touched this 10 weight. I'm nervous because it's Steve Thomas, because he just won the Golden Fly with Brett Flutie's brother. Or no, Brett Flutie.
Okay.
Brett Flutie, I think, is the fisherman, right? The football player, right?
Oh, Doug Flutie.
Doug Flutie.
Yeah.
Is that, okay. So I know he's like, it's my first time with Steve Thomas. He said, he gives me the fly rod. I'm taking line out of it on the deck. And he says, "Are you left or right?" I say, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Do you cast with your left hand or your right hand?" And he's like fish are coming, right? And I was like, "What hand do you want me to use?" He goes, "What kind of answer is that?" And I said, Jeff's like, "He uses both." He said, "You're left." And I said, "Okay, I'm left." And 8 tarpon were coming. And I put the fly in front of the first one, the sentinel fish, and it took it. 120-pound tarpon took it. That was my first experience. Like, after that, I was like, I have to fly fish like for tarpon all the time now. Like, it was incredible. It ate 5 feet from the boat in crystal clear water, and his mouth just opened up, and I just saw my fly go. It was, oh my God. I'll never forget that moment.
I'm looking at Nick because he knows what I'm thinking. We're about to embark on a journey here, so this is now listen, and this is what I want to say about this. All right, God puts you where you need to be, and I think a lot of people miss it. They don't see it, and that's why they don't see God, and they don't see the work that He does, and doesn't see where He puts you. Right?
He does so much
for
us.
I think it's important, just as important as it is that God puts you where you need to be, it's just as important for you to recognize it.
Yeah.
Because it takes 2 to tango.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
My wife and I were just talking about this, actually driving to church this past weekend. And I'm going to say this without trying to cry, because it really is meaningful. 3 weeks ago, I didn't know Jeff Harkavy. 2 months ago, I met Heather for the first time on the show, both of them. First time on the show, right? 2 months ago, Bonefish Tarpon Trust sends me an email, wants me to set up for the show. I said I would do it, and then I said, I don't think I'm going to have time because I'm so busy here. I got this mural, and I got all these other projects, and we're trying to close out the year, and so much going on.
Yeah.
And Jeff comes on the show with Bouncer, and then couple glasses of rum later, they're like, Jeff's like, "No, you gotta set up," and blah blah. And I gave him a couple pieces of art off the wall after the things. Here, just use this for the Bonefish Tarpon Trust. I don't need to be here. Just take it, use it for whatever you want to do it.
Wow.
Next day, Jeff writes an email, set Dennis up at the show, blah blah blah, like the whole thing. So I'm like, all right, they really want me to go, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Right. Go to the show. It was a great weekend, great success. I see Chrissy Wyborg Hughes there. It's a good friend of mine. I didn't know she was going to be there. She sees me across the room. She goes like that. I owe her a job, like a project, and I didn't do it yet. And she gets all mad at me. But that's like almost like, all right. And then Jeff said, and Nick comes, and Nick was such a great helper to me this weekend. It's like I can't even explain to you how much Nick helped me this weekend. He drove up there with me. He helped me set up. I couldn't be there on Friday. He watched like the whole booth on Friday, back and forth, and he helped me break it down. And he really did facilitate a lot of things for me this weekend. So thank you, Nick.
That's awesome.
Really, it mattered, like what you did. You said, "Oh, easy." My wife came to the dinner that night like that, and 2 cars. He recognized that. He goes, "Just drive home with her. I'll take your truck home the next morning from Palm Beach." And
awesome.
He did that.
That's awesome.
Right? So she wouldn't have to drive home late at like midnight all the way from Palm Beach.
That's awesome.
Good stuff, man. Really.
Yeah. That's family.
Right? Yeah, for sure. And then get there, and then we find out, later on that Jeff Harkavy lives in Coral Springs, literally a mile from my house.
Yeah. He lives right behind our clinic.
Right? And now he put you into my life.
Yeah.
And this is before my wife. This is after my wife and I had this conversation. But I said to my wife, I said, it's so funny that the one biggest takeaway that I got from the whole Bonefish Tarpon Trust Symposium weekend and the past 3 weeks is God puts you where you need to be.
Yeah.
I really feel that. I really felt that after this weekend. I said there was a reason all that happened the way it happened. And it was almost like I got pushed because I got pushed into that weekend.
Yeah.
And it was a real...
It's almost like it wasn't your decision. God's saying, like, no, I need you here.
Yeah.
Dennis, you're going to go here. Yeah. Well, I look around your place and I see how talented you are, your art, and I see what you're doing. And, we make life so complicated, but life is so simple. God gave you passion and he gave you talent. And God says, all you have to do is put me first. And your heart's desires, I'll make happen for you, right? And your heart's desires are all over this wall. You have a platform that's blessing conservation, the community, not just conservation, but individuals, right? We get to impact each other's lives. And you're doing all of that. And you're being obedient to God, right? You're raising your kids in a great way, great husband. You're doing everything you're supposed to do. And you have this incredible talent. And God's shining through you, right? It's not for us to get the credit for all of this stuff that, people say like the stuff like it's almost embarrassing, like how nice they were being about talking about me. But it's not, the credit's not for me, just like the credit's not for you. We're just supposed to be reflections to reflect the light back up to God, right? People need to know God is doing this, that, we're here today, gone tomorrow. It's not about us. We just get to be along for the ride and we get to see God work in our hearts and with the stuff that he puts in our hearts, and the blessing is for everyone, right? Like when someone does an act of kindness to someone else, it's both get blessed, right? The gift is for both people. There's nothing else on the planet that usually when someone gains, someone loses, right? Like typically that's how it works. But the way God works, everybody wins, right? And if we get to, like, God gave us fishing and he lets us take people fishing and we get blessed for it. We get to have art like this in our houses and you get blessed for it. We get, like, everybody wins, It's the most incredible. And that's how simple it is. 2 years ago, I was so stressed because I had to lay off 23 people. And I have single moms with kids with special needs. And I said, how are they going to pay their rent? How are they going to pay their mortgages? It was, besides my parents passing away, that was probably the darkest day of my life. And I said to Sonia, I hadn't been to church in a while. I go to Calvary. And I said, I got to go to church. We went on a Wednesday night. Pastor gave a sermon. And I don't know if I was even listening half to the sermon. I was just like praying, stressed. Am I losing my clinic? Do you not want me to do this anymore? I always said, God gave me this. I'm a steward of it for a short period of time. And if I don't do a good job, he could take it away from me, right? Like anything I do. And all I got, I was so stressed and so burdened. And the message I got, I don't know where it came from, if the pastor said it or not, but, and I don't mean to preach or anything like that, but the message I got, and this is my motto for the rest of my life. He's God the Father, and we're his sons and daughters. That makes us royalty, right? We're all his sons and daughters, right? And he's the King of Kings. That makes us royalty. And all we have to do is obey him. So we just have to obey one person. All I do, I work for him. That's all it means. I work for the King of Kings. He calls me son. That means my father's royalty. And that means I just have to obey him and do whatever wherever he puts me, whatever my job is, that's what I want to do. I don't want to do anything that's not aligned with him. But he says, whatever your passions are, as long as you put me first, you can do anything you want. He gave me a great skate career for a long time. I still skate, fishing, physical therapy. I'm happy for the burdens, because without the burdens, there's no purpose. And if we get to do it this way, if I get to guide for the rest of my life and do physical therapy, I die happy. You know, this is good. This is good. I just preached on your podcast, didn't I?
This is episode 140. It's the first time I've ever cried on the show. You want to know? You want to know what else God gave me today? A new friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Elmer.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate you, brother. Really.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for everything you're doing.
That's magic.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm not going to say anything after what you just said. I can't. So I'm not even going to thank our sponsors. Everyone knows who they are. You watch the show all the time, so listen to it. Joey, Papa's Pa, Papa's Pilar, Pop's Rubber. Okay, give you your shout outs later. I'm going to end it like we always do. Elmer, thanks for coming on the show. Your ego is not your amigo. Always do your best, and at the end of the day, just let God do the rest. And do not ever forget that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we're all connected by water.
Cheers. God bless you.